Hey everyone, happy Monday. It's Kyle, Azor Height. Game of Thrones Season 8 is only 6 days away, and I can't wait to see all of the epic battles, the revelations, and reunions in the final 6 episodes of A Game of Thrones. Today in this video, we're going to discuss the 4 major reunions that we absolutely need to see in Game of Thrones Season 8. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. One of the reunions that we need to see in Game of Thrones Season 8 is Jon Snow and Arya Stark. Last season when Jon Snow found out that Arya and Bran were still alive, he didn't have time to properly absorb the news. As we heard him say, he mourned them as if they had died, so this was a bittersweet moment for Jon. Of course, Jon had to go beyond the wall so that the parley in the dragon pit could go according to plan. But this is a Game of Thrones and things often do not work out in the way that we want. Last season, we saw Arya return to Winterfell, and we saw Arya and Sansa get rid of that treacherous rat Littlefinger with the help of Bran Stark, who let them know about Ned's betrayal in King's Landing. And in the Season 8 trailer, we see Arya not only fighting in what looks to be like the Battle of Winterfell, but also marveling at the dragons and Jon and Dany's arrival. Jon and Arya share a special bond, and while they don't have much time to sit around and talk about their journeys, I do believe we are going to see an epic reunion between Jon and Arya in Season 8. Both Arya and Jon have grown so much and learned so much, and with Jon now in the position that Ned was once in, Arya can support Jon when there will no doubt be disagreements over Jon bending the knee to Daenerys Targaryen. Now, I'm not saying that Arya will necessarily be happy with this, but Arya does have quite a bit in common with Daenerys, and seeing Jon achieve some sort of level of happiness and seeing him be in love will definitely strike a chord within Arya. One of the bigger moments between Jon and Arya in Season 8 will mirror the one that Jon had with Theon Greyjoy in Season 7, where he told him that he's not only a Greyjoy, but he's also a Stark. Arya knows Jon is Jon, and while it's obviously important that Jon is the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, Arya will let Jon know it's okay and that he can be a Stark and a Targaryen. I also think that we will see a scene where Jon and Arya are fighting together, and we can even possibly see them take on the Night King together in Game of Thrones Season 8, as Bran did give Arya the Valyrian steel dagger in Season 7. One of the reunions that we need to see in Game of Thrones Season 8 is Jaime Lannister and the new three-eyed raven, Bran Stark. As we all know, the big shocking moment at the end of Episode 1 in Season 1 was Jaime Lannister pushing Bran Stark out the tower when Bran caught Jaime and Cersei sleeping together, saying, "The things I do for love." But now that Bran Stark is the three-eyed raven and Jaime has dedicated himself and swore a vow to fight for the side of the living, we will see them meet up in Game of Thrones Season 8. When Jaime Lannister arrives to Winterfell, he is going to be met with some displeasure, but I think we will see a scenario where Jaime is worried about Bran revealing his big secret, and Bran will defend Jaime when everyone is discussing how to best move forward with the War for Dawn. Ironically, without the action of Jaime pushing Bran out of the tower, Bran would have never been able to awaken his third eye. And as we know, in A Song of Ice and Fire and A Game of Thrones, things happen for a reason. The circular nature of all of these major events throughout the series have led us to where we are now, and I believe that we will see Jaime Lannister become the new Hodor for Bran Stark, at least during the Battle of Winterfell. For those of you who watched my video on the reveal of who is chasing Arya Stark in the Season 8 trailer, then you will know why it is important that not only Jaime, but others such as Samwell Tarly and Brienne of Tarth, and Arya and Jon Snow protect Bran from being killed by the Night King. The relationship between Bran and Jaime is an odd one, but George R. R. Martin has made this connection for a very specific reason. And I believe some of the clues as to why are detailed in Bran's vision after the Hold the Door event, in which we saw Hodor hold the door so that Bran and Meera could escape the Three-Eyed Raven's cave. Perhaps Bran Stark has seen a blueprint as to how to defeat the army of the dead, and I think it would be poetic if Jaime Lannister's last words were "burn them all," and a final sacrifice killing his sister Cersei Lannister after the Clegane Bowl and after the army of the dead reaches King's Landing in Season 5 of Season 8. The reunion between Jaime and Bran is one of the most important ones that we will see in Game of Thrones Season 8. One of the reunions that we need to see in Game of Thrones Season 8 is the reunion between Sansa Stark and Tyrion Lannister. Sansa and Tyrion's relationship is one of the most interesting ones because of how it came to be. Sansa was being held captive in King's Landing, and Tyrion has always been seen as the lesser member of his house compared to his other siblings. I always felt like we would see them meet up in the endgame again, and I think after everything that Sansa has experienced on her journey, that she will look back and say, hey, Tyrion actually didn't manipulate me or treat me terribly like Littlefinger or Ramsay Bolton or Cersei and others have. One of the strengths of Tyrion's character is how fast of a learner he is and how he can insert himself into a situation and make tough but intelligent decisions. This hasn't always been the case for Sansa, but as we heard her state last season before the execution of Littlefinger Peter Baelish, I may be a slow learner, but I do learn, setting up some very interesting scenarios for Game of Thrones Season 8. Tyrion and Sansa are both going to be at the center of all of these major discussions, including the one where they hold court in Winterfell with the arrival of Daenerys Targaryen, who is queen, Jon bending the knee, the White Walkers, and of course Cersei Lannister's betrayal when Jaime Lannister arrives. I sincerely hope we don't see an arc where Tyrion is betraying Daenerys Targaryen in some sort of way, but if this is the case, you better believe that Sansa, who now understands the Game of Thrones just as good as anyone else, will be all over its scent like a she-wolf. But I do see Sansa and Tyrion working together in Game of Thrones Season 8, and Sansa will remember that Tyrion said he would never hurt her. So I think we are going to see some absolutely badass conversations between the fully grown Sansa Stark and Tyrion Lannister in Season 8. Another reunion that we have to see in Game of Thrones Season 8 is Davos Seaworth and Melisandre. Davos Seaworth has played such an important role in so many character storylines, imparting his wisdom and ultimately supporting Jon Snow, the character that gives the Realms of Men the best chance to defeat the Night King in the Great War. Melisandre has also played an interesting role and has had many interactions with Davos, and of course broke his heart when she and Stannis burnt Shireen at the stake. The last interaction we saw between these two characters was a very emotional one where Davos poured his heart out to her and Jon saying that he loves Shireen like a daughter. Of course, Jon being the man that he is, sided with Davos and banished Melisandre from the north, and Davos said that if she were to return, that he would kill her himself. But I have this gut feeling that this isn't the last interaction we are going to see between Davos Seaworth and Melisandre. In a few other videos, I have discussed the idea of Melisandre returning to Essos and to Volantis to not only bring over the 1,001 soldiers of the Fiery Hand to help in the Great War against the Night King and the Army of the Dead, but also a contingent of Red Priests to help combat the Night King's necromancy. Davos is going to be one of the key characters who help holds the Realms of Men together by making sure everyone is on the same page, and Melisandre's journey has always been about empowering and enabling Azor Ahai. If we are to see Jon defeat the Night King in the Great War, he's not going to be able to do it alone, and I do believe that Melisandre would sacrifice herself if it meant achieving a victory over the Army of the Dead. And ultimately, while I do think Davos will have major issues with Melisandre returning to Westeros and Melisandre being wrong before by misinterpreting her visions in the flames, maybe this time Melisandre will have some new information that can help defeat the Night King and the Army of the Dead. And if this is the case, then Davos would have no choice but help share and spread this information. It would be an incredible twist if we saw Davos stab Melisandre in the heart with a Valyrian steel blade, and if it became Lightbringer, meaning that Davos has an even bigger role in the Azor Ahai prophecy than we thought. And while there's a very small chance of this happening, I do believe that this reunion will bring an interesting and very important twist to Game of Thrones Season 8. Which of these 4 major reunions would you like to see most in Game of Thrones Season 8? Let me know in the comment section which reunions you are most looking forward to. And I will be doing another video before Game of Thrones Season 8 with another 7 reunions that we need to see, including Sandor Clegane and Arya Stark, Samwell Tarly and Jon Snow, and Jaime Lannister and Brienne of Tarth. So make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell if you do want to see more Game of Thrones Season 8 videos. I just want to thank each and every single one of you who have supported the channel. I never in my wildest dreams thought I could be pursuing this as a career after the major back injury I suffered 4 years ago. Tomorrow on April 9th, we will be celebrating my 3 years on YouTube, and I'm going to be doing a live stream with some of my favorite people in this community at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have fun stories, Game of Thrones Season 8 predictions, and we're just going to have a good time. So I would like to invite all of you to that. And whether you have liked a video, left a comment, subscribed to the channel, shared a video on social media, had a conversation with me, encouraged me, I really do appreciate your support. The generosity is honestly so incredible, including the 82 members on Patreon that we have. You guys are so amazing. I love calling you guys the Super PAC. You're all so hype. And everyone who has donated to the GoFundMes, it really helps out the channel and has let me network and meet some of the best and most important people in my life. I can only hope I continue to get better as a content creator and hope we continue to grow this Hype and Love community together. So you can reach out to me on all social medias at AzorHype, and if you do want to support the channel, you can become a patron on Patreon or help me get to Con of Thrones 2019. As usual, all the linky goodness can be found in the description of this video. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all in the next video. Hype and Love.